If you are looking to boost your mental well-being and resilience, there's now a free online series that you'll want to check out. It's hosted by Pine Rest Telehealth Clinic and features expert-led conversations on everything from stress management and burnout to mindfulness and online safety for kids. Joining us now is Jean Holthaus, the manager of Pine Rest Telehealth Clinic. Good morning to you. Very nice to see you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's talk about this. Can you tell us about where we should start when we're looking at these clinics? What is this all about, and what does that mean for people at home?
Sure. So Pine Rest has a telehealth clinic, which is a totally online clinic, and we wanted to host a series of conversations to give people practical tips that they could use in their everyday life to boost their mental health well-being. And we're involving some of the clinics that are maybe further out from Grand Rapids, like Kalamazoo and Holland and Traverse City, to raise awareness of those clinics as well.
Okay, very interesting, because, you know, I think what I see in this story is that you're expanding access to those that might not have direct access to your clinic or maybe a clinic at home by bringing it online. Or some of the fringe clinics, like you said, down in Kalamazoo, maybe in Holland, up in Traverse City. So very cool. So who is this for? Who are you directly targeting?
So we wanted to pick out topics that would apply to anyone and give you practical things that you could put into your life that would boost your mental well-being. So each of the conversations is going to be 30 minutes long, and you'll take away some practical things that you could use same day to invest in your well-being.
Very cool. So again, 30 minutes long, you know, small snippets, you know, of little sections of that sphere. Very cool.
Little pieces to be able to better your well-being, your mental well-being, which is huge, very important. How is this series different than another type of webinar, another type of something like this, that you would be able to address mental health in this way?
So we tried to pick times that would be kind of most available. So we picked over the lunch hour, or just before, or just after supper. We tried to make it short, and we tried to think of things that the everyday person, these are going to be conversations that you don't have to be an expert, and that you could get some takeaways on. So.
Yeah, okay, so there are about 10 different topics here. What are some of the things you guys will be diving into in those 30-minute sessions?
So we wanted to start with stress, because everybody's got that.
Everyone's stressed.
No matter where you are.
Yep.
And so if you start by looking at, okay, so practically what do I do with that? And then looking at, okay, and how do I take care of myself, right? Because those kind of build on one another, although you can do them individually. And then we started by looking at some of kind of like special populations, like LGBTQ plus population. What are some special things that they face? And if you have a friend or a relative that might be dealing with some substance abuse issue of some sort, how would you have that conversation? Because those are hard conversations to have. And then we kind of switched back to looking at, okay, we got kids online, how do we protect them? Because that's something that parents are dealing with. And then burnout, because if you've got a job of any sort, burnout can be a part of that. And setting healthy boundaries, because we all need those in our world. And then we wanted to round it out with some kind of positive things. So how do you develop more grit so that you can get through the tough stuff? And how do you build joy in your life? Because that also gives us like positive things to end on.
Yeah, I think that so many times that we focus on the negatives in our life, and I think building joy is a huge part of that. And of course, I think parents can really get something out of this too. You know, online, it's such a great resource, the online world is, but for kids, you know, trying to navigate that must be so difficult too. And parents, I'm sure that is going to cover some age-appropriate conversations that they can have, right?
Yes, practical things they can do.
Yeah, there you go. So is this for basically anybody? Like, do you have to have any sort of health care? Like, how can we access this?
This is a free online series. You just go to our website and pick the ones that you want to go to, and you just scan the QR code and you join the conversation.
Okay, interesting.
Definitely interesting. It sounds like it's kind of, you've got something for everybody. Is there anything in there that made you want to pick some of these 10 topics that you really think would resonate with people right now, or even going into the summer season?
Well, we were looking at May being mental health, and kind of how do we keep building off of that so we don't quit thinking about it in May and we just continue on. And then we just looked at what would promote well-being and what do we think people would most be interested in.
Yeah, I think these months, those themed months where you're kind of highlighting an issue, those are great, but it is important to talk about mental health year-round. Can you kind of explain why? I mean, obviously, I think we all kind of know why, but in your own words, as somebody who deals with this every day, talk about why it's important to recognize the struggles every single day.
Well, I think it's a little bit like the maintenance on your car, right? So we all think that maintenance that we do on our car is a little annoying, right?
Yeah.
But if you go in and you get the oil changed and rotate the tires, it prevents it from being in a bad space. So we can either do that, or we can wait until it's dead beside the side of the road, and that's really expensive. So we want to actually do that preventative thing, and that's the piece that we want to keep bringing attention to is there are things you can do to preventatively invest in your well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. So is this structured in any sort of way, or more so just kind of like a conversational style? Like, what can people expect if I'm clicking on?
Sure. You won't have to talk if you don't want to. It's primarily you're going to listen, and then you're going to be able to ask some questions at the end. But we want to give you some practical tips that are relatable, so you don't have to come as an expert.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, I love the analogy with kind of maintenance on a car.
I know, that is a good one.
It is, because I think a lot of people might think, oh, well, I'm actually having a great time right now. I'm not really struggling with anything, so they don't think that this could be for them. Can you speak just a little bit to somebody's doing great, or maybe they do want to focus on some of those positives, how this could still benefit them?
We can always do better. I love doing these presentations because they remind me of the things that I need to do. And we all have those things in our world. So even if you're doing great right now, it reinforces, oh yeah, I got to keep doing these things.
Right. Yeah, so are you going to be the one giving the presentation, or do you have experts lined up to kind of help people along with that?
Each one will be given by someone different. I'm doing one of them, but they'll all be done by somebody different. And these are seasoned clinicians who are really good at presenting too, so you'll be engaged.
Yeah, so you're taking a look at the website. We've got a couple of things up there. You know, you're looking at session 2 as we kind of scroll through practical strategies for self-care. That's an important one, right?
Yeah.
Why is self-care so important to the mental well-being of it all?
Well, if you're not investing in taking care of yourself, you gradually run down, and that's just like physical well-being, right? If we don't exercise and we don't eat healthy, you're going to get sick. Same with our mental well-being.
Yeah, and of course, so you can access all of this by scanning the QR code on the bottom right of your screen. You see we've got Pine Rest Telehealth Clinic, and then that little box, just take out your phone, or if you're watching us on a phone right now, you can screenshot that and then go back to it later so you can get to that website. Do people need to register ahead of time?
Nope. Just join 5 minutes in advance so you have time to kind of get everything set up, and you can join from a phone, an iPad, a computer. They'll all work.
Okay.
Wow, this is really cool. Yeah, incredible for people to have access to this, such easy access too. If somebody wanted to go to a session and maybe they missed it, it was during a meeting that they had, is there a way for them to access it after the fact?
I don't think we're going to record them. I'm not sure on that, but I don't think we're going to record them because we want to encourage people to be able to feel free to ask questions and not worried about this is going to be recorded forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see how that could deter some people. But so if we do miss a session, what are some other ways that we can get resources to help?
On the Pine Rest website, there are a ton of resources about each of these topics too that you can go to. We have a kind of an online library there.
Okay. And so how do we kind of navigate this website? Is it pretty clear and cut on what times and on what segments and what topics we'll be talking about here?
Each one has its own little blurb, and you can actually even get them kind of downloaded ahead of time to your calendar to get a reminder if you want to.
Very cool.
What would you say are some of the biggest reminders that you would want to leave people with as we're getting into the holiday weekend, the summer, just in general, that you would want to have people keeping in mind?
Yeah, do something every day to take care of you. It gets so easy to invest in taking care of everybody else or just the demands of the day. Take time every day to do something small to take care of yourself.
Yeah, when you guys were compiling this list of series that you wanted to do, the topics that you were doing, did you hear from outside sources saying, hey, we really need to focus on some of these different groups or some of these aspects here? What were those conversations like when you were putting all of this together?
Sure. Well, we do presentations for businesses and within the community. So what we did was we looked at the ones that are most requested, and we thought, oh, we should make these available more broadly.
Yeah. What about in the community in general? What are you guys seeing mental health wise? What do you see as the biggest struggles right now?
I think there is a lot more focus on it, which is really, really good, but there's still a lot of stigma, and so people feel bad about asking. So one of the things we have to do is break down that stigma and realize it's just like all the other aspects of our health.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so you mentioned that you're going to be hosting one of these sessions as well. What one is that, and what makes it so important to you?
Sure, I'm doing the one on boundaries, probably because I need to be reminded of them in my own life, right? You can tend to add more things on and not take anything away. But I also think it's a really important one, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah. What do you say to those people that might feel a little nervous about joining one of these sessions? Obviously, you know, it's virtual, so that makes it a little easier. But if someone's afraid to click on that meeting, what would you say to them?
I say you don't have to turn your camera on. You don't have to turn your microphone on. You can just listen.
Okay.
So it's really like you can participate as much or as little as you want, and no one has to know you're there if you don't want them to.
Well, there you go. Let's pull up the graphic there. You've got the free online wellness sessions starting June 9th through the 18th. And again, this is outside of Mental Health Awareness Month because as you just said, it's important to be talking about this all the time. You can attend as many as you want. And I think that's the best part is that you can just, if you want to attend all of them, you can.
Yep.
What would you say the benefit people will take away from this? Or what do you hope people take away from this if they're going to attend the sessions?
I would hope that everybody would leave with at least one practical thing that they could implement same day, even if they wanted to.
Yeah, and further, I'm curious because, you know, we're getting out of school, we're starting the summer season, and you mentioned the topic for parents specifically. What are some ways that parents can kind of keep their kids at bay with their mental health throughout the summer before we get back into the school year? Because, you know, sometimes you're separated from friends, right? So
Yeah.
what are some ways we can kind of help those kids along in the summer months?
Sure. Structure is really, really important. If you think about it, their days are structured all day long when they're at school, and oftentimes then they get out and we're like expecting them to figure out what to do for 6 hours, and that can be really stressful. So providing some consistent things like keeping bedtimes consistent, keeping getting up times consistent, having activities that they know they can look forward to. So that there's some structure in their day.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your conversation this morning. Again, that all starts back up here in just a few weeks in June. You can find the information on Pine Rest's website, and of course, we'll have it on 13onyourside.com.